The Rothschild family funded Cyrus Ingerson Scofield in the creation of what later became known as the Scofield Reference Bible, an annotated interpretation of the King James Version, first published in 1909. 8 years later, in 1917, the British government issued the Balfour Declaration, a public statement supporting the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. The declaration was handed to the Rothschild family, specifically Lord Walter Rothschild, by Arthur Balfour, the British Foreign Secretary at the time. The Scofield Bible, with its dispensationalist theology and pro-Zionist commentary, was designed to advance the Zionist agenda by reshaping the beliefs of American Christians, particularly evangelicals. This theological shift played a role in garnering widespread Christian support for the State of Israel in the 20th century.
Christian Zionism. How are so many Christians tricked into this, especially since Zionists openly hate Christians? It all started in 1909 with the publication of the Scofield Reference Bible, a Rothschild Zionist-funded reinterpretation of the Bible to help Zionists create the State of Israel with the tricked support from the Christians. They paid somebody to reinterpret the words of the Bible to American Christians. The tricks are in the footnote interpretations of the scripture, and sometimes there was more footnotes than actual scripture on the page. And here's an example of how intentionally far off the interpretations could be from the actual scripture. Listen.
The footnote reads, God made an unconditional promise of blessing through Abram's seed to the nation of Israel to inherit a specific territory forever. But the passage doesn't say anything like this. God orders Abram to go to a land that God will show him, using the first person familiar thee, meaning Abram and no one but Abram. The passage does not say that God is giving any piece of land to anybody forever. It doesn't say anything about Israel. In fact, if we accept biblical history, we know that Abram had no children when this happened, and not for quite a while. So there was no person or nation named Israel when this promise was made. There was no state or nation named Israel. The man Israel did not even exist in Abram's imagination when God spoke to him.
All those tricks were to use Christians' own religion against them, all to help create the State of Israel and protect it in the future. Now listen to how they even tricked Christians into supporting the Jews with godly rewards and godly threats, putting words in God's mouth to trick people.
There is a promise of blessing upon the individuals and nations who bless Abram's descendants, and a curse lay upon those who persecute the Jew. The word Jew is used in the footnotes in describing an occurrence 2,000 to 3,000 years before the word Jew existed. In fact, Jew is taken from the name Judah, who was, it is told, one of the 12 grandsons of Abraham, Abram of Genesis 12. Neither Judah nor Jew existed, and this footnote is a false concoction.
That is messed up. They mass-produced this book by Oxford University Press, taught it to pastors who went and taught it to other pastors who preached it to Christians. And the propaganda became self-perpetuating without the Christians even knowing that they're actually spreading false political propaganda. From this very clever manipulative trick, does Christian Zionism even exist? And sadly still influences domestic and foreign policy to this day.
My sense was the Scofield stuff, which has had massive implications for our foreign policy, for example, and in our domestic politics, was probably a lie. I do know that that translation or that commentary on the Bible has had massive effects on our politics that have been very, very negative and resulted in the deaths of a lot of people.
It's a trick. Zionists are our enemy. They hate Christians and use us for donations, political support, and even our soldiers. Help expose and stop this propaganda. There is no such thing as Christian Zionism. Zionism is against Christianity. Their Talmud says that Jesus is in hell, boiling in a pot of feces. Does that really sound like the people that are on your side? Do you ever hear Muslims say anything bad about Jesus? No. It'd be against their religion to do so. They only say good things about Christianity and Jesus. Zionists just infiltrate and use Christians. They don't like us. Any Christians who go to Israel are constantly being spit on. Spitting on Christians is actually very common in Israel, and there's some politicians who even stick up for it. In Israel, they even tried to outlaw any teachings of Christianity. They are not for us. They're not on our side. They're just trying to use us. There's always a rush of Zionist lawyers ready to sue a church for any reasons, and they do that all the time. Do you ever see a synagogue getting sued? No, of course not. They'll protect synagogues no matter what they do. And they call themselves God's chosen people. That's blasphemy. God's chosen people is a merit-based system, not a birthright. You go to heaven based on good deeds, not because you're born of a certain bloodline. And you can't do crazy amounts of evil and still go to heaven just because you're born of a certain birthright. It is blasphemy to call yourself God's chosen people and not actually have to earn it. And look at all these charities. Zionists are always asking Christians for money. Money, money, money. Do they ever donate to Christians? Do they ever help us out? Absolutely never. They're just trying to infiltrate us and use us. They think we're all going to hell anyway, so to use us for their own ends and cast us aside. They are not our allies. There is no such thing as a Christian Zionist. They are not our ally. This is just infiltration and a trick. Don't fall for it. Christians denounce Zionism, period.